Good morning. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation and for allowing us as the regulator to just spend a few brief moments highlighting the legislative framework surrounding the Credit Bureau. You've heard from Governor and you've heard from others this morning in terms of some of the benefits of the Credit Bureau. But what I want to do before I get into in terms of the legislative framework is just to spend a bit on some key areas that I think is very important for us to understand the overall framework. So you hear us talk about a credit bureau, but what really underlies all of that is what we call a credit reporting system. And the credit reporting system comprises the institutions, the individuals, the rules, the procedures, standards, and technology that enable information flows relevant for making decisions surrounding credit and loans and loan agreements. So the credit bureau it's an institution that focuses on making that information available to financial and non-financial creditors throughout the credit granting process. You'll hear us talk about data subjects, and the data subjects are you and I, really the borrowers who then go to any sort of creditor to seek credit. So we are the data subjects. Another key group is what we call data providers, credit data providers. And these are, by definition, in the Act. So when we start with the establishment of the Credit Bureau on the first day of the Credit Bureau, we have what we call credit information providers. And this is any credit provider, and this is defined in the Credit Reporting Act that I'm going to talk a bit more later on. It's a bank or financial institution licensed under our Banking Act. It's a money service business. It's a credit union or similar cooperative institution registered under the Cooperative Societies Act. It's an insurance company that's licensed under the Insurance Act, or it's a microfinance institution licensed under the Microfinance Institutions Regulations. So really, as currently defined, the credit information, a bank, a money service business, credit union, insurance company, or microfinance. As a regulator, the central bank, we have the ability within the Act to designate other credit information providers. We have not done that yet. But under the Act, there are certain groups of creditors that we can designate. And these are the telecommunications providers, so the Digicel and the Flows and the like, the electricity service companies or National Water and Sewage Authority and similar entities or water departments, or development banks, or any other entity that's carrying on business in hire purchase or credit sales. So a hire purchase firms such as courts and the like. So these are some critical areas: the credit bureau, credit information providers, and as well the data subjects. These are three groups that you need to familiarize yourselves with understanding our credit reporting system. One of the main objectives for us at the central bank in establishing the ECCU Credit Bureau is to address the issue of asymmetric information. And you heard Governor mention some of that. And what we are trying to do is to provide a lending institution with timely access to information that will assist them in accurately capturing the risk of potential borrowers. It also enables financial intermediaries, the lenders, to more effectively price lending, to price the loan based on the risk of the borrower. And it also improves the efficiency with which credit applications are processed. Oftentimes, you've heard Governor talk of it. The process in terms of credit application takes very long because there's not an effective way of sharing credit information. And with establishing the Credit Bureau, we hope that we'll cut down on that time in terms of credit application processing. So what underpins all of this is what we call our Credit Reporting Act. And currently, our Credit Reporting Act is passed in 6 of 8 of our member countries in the currency union. And currently, the ECCB continues to work assiduously in advocating for the passage of that legislation in the 2 outstanding member countries. The Credit Reporting Act provides for a fair and accurate credit reporting system within the currency union. And here we want to assure that objective credit decisions are made. We want to enable credit information sharing and reporting. It provides a regulation and the conduct of credit reporting and credit reporting services. So it provides a licensing regime. So in terms of some of the safeguards, and I want to go into the safeguards that are provided by the Credit Reporting Act. So first, it provides a licensing regime. And by this, what do I mean? A company cannot just come in the currency union and say, I'm a credit bureau, and I want to start operating as a credit bureau. Because there's a Credit Reporting Act with a strict licensing regime, any entity wanting to operate within the currency union as a credit bureau has to be licensed by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. And this licensing regime ensures that there is an application and approval process for establishing a credit bureau within the currency union. Currently, there's only one credit bureau license within the currency union, and you'll hear more about that this morning, and that's Credit Info Eastern Caribbean, ECCU Limited. The second part of the safeguards as provided in the Credit Reporting Act is the consumer protection, and this is key for the data subjects. It provides a very robust framework for consumer protection. And there's some key areas of this consumer protection framework. We talk of permissible purpose, consent, and the rights of access and correction. And if I can touch a bit on what is a permissible purpose. So a credit bureau cannot knowingly provide information on you as a data subject unless it is within a permissible purpose. And some of these permissible purposes are if you're applying for credit at a bank or a credit union, if you're entering into a tenancy or lease agreement, and your landlord wants to know what your credit history or if you're credit worthy, if you're buying insurance, if there's a pre-employment check on you, if you've applied for a position where it entails significant financial responsibility, your employer can then go and seek a credit report from the credit bureau. So all these are credit permissible purposes. So someone cannot go and get information on you as a data subject unless it's within a permissible purpose as outlined in the Act. So that's the first part as it relates to consumer protection. The second part relates to consent. And what this means is that any person or data subject or anyone trying to find information on data subject, credit information on data subject, cannot do that, or they must first obtain consent from the data subject. So when I go in for a loan, or if I'm seeking to rent from a landlord, or I'm buying insurance, or I have that job with significant financial responsibilities, I have to give that potential employer, that lender, I have to give them consent in order to go and get information from the credit bureau on my behalf. So that's what we talk about consent. So it's permissible purpose, consent. And third, it's a right of access and correction. So after all of this information on me, credit information is shared as a data subject to the credit bureau, I have the right to access that information as a data subject. So I can go to the credit bureau and I can say, I want to see my credit report. And in fact, the law is very clear on this, that the credit bureau, at least once per year, has to provide you free of charge a credit report. Once per year, you can go to the credit bureau and request a credit report free of charge at least once per year. So you have the right of access. After accessing this credit report, and then you go through and there's inaccurate information based on what you know about your past credit history, you have a right to challenge that information. And the credit bureau has a right to do an investigation with its data providers to try and determine and come to some understanding in correcting that information. So you have a right of access, you have a right to challenge, and you have a right to have that. The credit bureau has to implement strict quality control procedures to ensure that maximum possible accuracy and completeness of its database. It must take steps, all necessary steps to ensure that the data subject information that I spoke about before, that the process is up to date, reliable, accurate, and comprehensive. And fourth, in terms of a key component of the Credit Reporting Act, is a complaints and dispute resolution. And this is key. I mentioned before your right to challenge. So if there is a dispute with a data subject and the credit bureau, the Act allows for what we call a review commission to be established to adjudicate disputes. And this is set out in the regulations in terms of the legislative framework. So a credit subject has the right to challenge when there are any issues, and if there's a dispute, it can go all the way up to a review commission. If the data subject is not satisfied with the decision of the credit bureau, it can take that to the review commission. And there's a process, of course, that's outlined in the regulations and the act that outlines how this would occur. Even the credit bureau, if the credit bureau is aggrieved at a decision that's taken by us as the central bank, it can also go to the review commission in terms of dispute and complaints resolution. So the Credit Reporting Act is robust and provides complaints and dispute resolution. It provides credibility, it provides consumer protection, and it provides a licensing regime to ensure that the system is credible. In conclusion, effective regulation and supervision is a key component and is extremely necessary to ensure the proper functioning of a credit bureau within our system. And why? There are three main reasons. And to summarize, is to ensure efficient credit information sharing, is to ensure that consumer data is protected, and it is to ensure that there is accurate credit reporting across and credit information sharing across the currency union. Thank you very much for listening this morning.